but whatever.
Okay, yeah, we live. We live.
Okay.
We're gonna take these links and post them for the people of God.
Okay.
Let's see where we at. Let's see. We have one viewer so far. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
They gonna come on in.
Mike.
Trying to see. Okay, there we go. So let me get a link. Send it to the people. Hi guys. Hi. Oh, thank you, Raina. Way better. Great.
Okay,
Good
good.
to know. Good to know. We're going to get the people in over here. For those who don't know, who have not joined our lives on Instagram, this is the Booked Up Book Club discussion on the book
Yes.
Relational Intelligence. And
Mm-hmm.
this is the last discussion on relational intelligence. So we're just kind of summarizing the rest of it. Y'all still got 3 days to finish it before we start. So let me
Yeah,
get this
I might do.
posted to get the people to come on over. Are y'all coming on in?
I can't use my earbuds with this because the audio is kind of low on my end. So you can hear me okay, but you're still low for me. So I'm gonna be like this close to the computer.
Can you hear me though? Like,
I can hear you, yes, but it's just
okay,
low. And I got my audio turned all the way. Oh, wait a minute. Say something.
something.
Okay, I've been touching this audio button and it forget I said anything. Okay, let me know when you post, and I'll share
I
it.
just posted in the story. I
Okay,
didn't tag either of us though, but I
okay,
did just post.
okay.
Okay, I shared the YouTube link, but we are also live on Facebook. So welcome everybody. Raina, I know you're on here, so if you can share as well for us so we can get started, but we don't delay the time, be really, really helpful.
Oh, it's not letting me share. Okay. Technology, you are defeated today, okay?
Right? Y'all, we had some technical issues. We're usually live on Instagram for the Booked Up Book Club chat, but Instagram and our internet just wasn't working out too well. And so we moved over here to do Facebook and YouTube, and then we'll just leave it up on our YouTube channel. So that way you guys can go back and watch it, those who may have missed it, if you're on Instagram and not on Facebook or YouTube. Okay. Hey Quentin. Hi Angela. How you doing? Okay, so we're gonna get started. This is the summation of these chats for relational intelligence.
Yes.
We'll kind of conclude this book on the 31st. For those who have not finished reading, you're not behind. But we are going to end the series here because next Friday would be a new month in which we will have started our next book, right?
Yeah. Right.
So um, we're not going to, I guess, go into as much detail as we have in the past chapters because we understand that everybody may not be where we are in the book. And you guys, like I said, do have some time to finish it. But this last installment will cover parts 3 and 4 of the book, which are what, the last 8 chapters?
Chapters. Mm-hmm.
Because chapter 15 is self-reflection. So it's nothing really covered there. That's all on you guys. So part 3, well, let's cover parts 1 and 2, right? Part 1 was about categorizing your friendships with what were they? Friends,
associates, assignments, and advisors.
Whew, almost got me. And then it goes into, why can't I click on this? It goes into part 2, which talks about discerning your relationship. Mm-hmm. And the 4 points there, it goes into reflecting on the relationship, evaluating the relationship, clarifying those relationships, and accepting whatever, comes from that. Mm-hmm. So today we'll talk about aligning the relationship and assessing the relationship. Now, dare I say, this book is not written in order. Okay, so it'll be hard to define your relationships without reflecting and discerning them, right?
Yeah, right.
Section 2. So reading the book, don't necessarily read it for the order in which you should do things when you're assessing your relationships. I would just definitely suggest reading it to gain the information, and then use chapter 15 to really walk through the steps of self-reflection and relational evaluations that they have at the end of the book. Okay?
Now, so go ahead. I know you have the digital version. Does it allow you to write in the chapter 15 like mine does, where it has like the personal assessment, so you can like actually write things?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what it shows me is, let me go to it. So it does this, right?
Oh, okay, cool.
But then I can highlight and put notes.
Okay.
Like I can do notes in it. So if you're reading a digital version, you can't take notes. If you want to write it in a notebook, write it in a notebook, if that's easier. But yeah, I know the paperback has space to actually write in the book. But then you can't let nobody borrow your book. So
you can't let them borrow your book. Yeah.
Okay, so hi Jeff. It's so good to see you on here.
Oh, Jeff Troy, how are you?
Yes.
And Pastor A is on. Bless you.
Hi. Okay, so part 3 is relational alignment. So this section basically talks about making sure that your relationships are aligned, right? It basically says like, okay, relationship alignment is our responsibility. We're responsible for putting people in their place. So everything that we've read up until this point is basically just saying we actually
put it in action.
Yeah,
right.
Put it in action, right?
Yeah, right.
And it talks about what 4? He does things in 4s.
Yeah.
It talks about 4 ways to do that. Advocation, conversation, limitations, and elimination.
Elimination.
You're
out of here, buddy. You're out of here.
Right. So advocation, what is that? This section, I'm not gonna lie, when I first read it and even rereading it was still a little confusing to me, but I think ultimately I got it. Where he says advocation is not selfishness, it's stewardship. Yeah. So basically he's saying that we have to advocate for ourselves. Are you a good fit for me? Fight for what I feel is good and be okay with it. Is that what you got from it?
Yeah, I did. And I highlighted it because, we've talked so much before where it's like, we feel like it's not Christian to, just kind of move people out of our life. We want to give them the benefit of the doubt and, all of that. But on page 131, it says self stewardship begins with this understanding. I am responsible for me, and advocating for me is not selfishness, it is stewardship. You will only see this as selfish if you believe what is in your best interest comes at the expense of what is best for someone else. This is by far not true. I thought that
We talked
is
about
so
that
good.
earlier, people pleasers.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if it was this book or some other reading that I was doing, but it talked about how people pleasing comes out of fear. You fear that you are not going to be accepted or validated by this person. And so you're willing to self sacrifice or people please for that, for whatever reason, but it's not in your best interest. Yeah. And he goes on later in the book to talk about how, because of people pleasing, then you can't have crucial conversations.
Yep.
And that's not helping anybody.
Yep.
I'm going to keep going. It says thinking of self stewardship as selfish also means you believe the only way, I love this one, the only way God can meet the needs of others is through you. Ooh, okay, Selah. I know we're supposed to do it and not say it, but Selah, because that makes me think of like how people want to be Superwoman or Superman. And it's like, you want to be everything to everybody and all this, but you are wearing yourself ragged. You are not the only one. Okay.
Wait, but can we finish? Can we finish what it
The
says?
paragraph, yes. It means that in some way you have overestimated your ability. Oh, we haven't even gotten to the rest of the sentence, but it's just like you have to pause. And underestimated God's ability to use other people besides you to get other people what they need. Would you like to take that one, or you want me to keep it?
I think this can go so deep, and that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Okay.
This time. But okay. I will say, this goes to keep going.
No, I feel like we need to touch it. We need to touch it.
Okay.
Because this can be a problem with you personally. It can be a problem with you professionally. If you feel like you're the only person that can do work, look, I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say that we are both, what is the word? What's it when you work too much? Workaholics. I'm a recovering workaholic. Let me tell workaholic. I am doing a job right now where I know I get on my manager's nerves. I know it. Because I'll be like, hey, I don't feel like I'm adding value. Can you put something else on my plate? Like, I don't. Like, I want to be working all 8 hours of the day. Okay. And she's like, no, Jamese, it's a slow day. Like, calm down. We're good. And it's like, I am overestimating my ability in some regard. Because, like, sometimes you do need those times of rest, even at work. Because sometimes it's not going to be as busy. But when it does pick up, you're going to be going. So you want to be rested, right? And I'm underestimating God's ability to use other people. You do not have to be the only one on the team doing the job. You don't have to be the only one shining, right? Oh, but then what about in a relationship? Okay. Because we're talking about relationships, right?
But relationship still extends to work, because he does touch on that co-worker relationship and things like that. But it's really, it is audacious to believe that I would say it's borderline what do they call it? Abusive.
Ooh.
If people have the mindset to think I'm the only way that you're gonna make it through life. So I'ma just put myself aside and just go ahead and still be your friend, because like that is very audacious.
That is.
It's disrespectful, it's audacious, and it's, I think, abusive.
Yeah.
It's almost like a guy saying, like, nobody's gonna love you like me. That's like,
yeah,
but
yeah. I'm
maybe
the only one. I'm the best one. I'm the greatest. Yeah.
that's
And
why.
I don't know if it's this chapter. Oh yeah, it is in this chapter. That's like a perfect segue because I got the audio book. So when I'm driving, I can listen to, and I really wanted him to touch on mentor mentee relationships because I think I have seen where some mentors feel like they are the only way for the mentee, and I was really hoping that he would touch it, and he does.
He did.
Where he talks about influence versus control. So if you're in that space where you think that you're the only person that can do anything, I'm going to take it a step further and say that you're walking in control and manipulation. Sorry to say that, but I think it's true. And he makes a difference between influence, using your influence where you say, hey, think about doing this. If you want to rise up the corporate ladder, here's some books you can read, here's some classes you can take. And then he talks about, okay, if the mentee's not doing that, then maybe you should back up a little bit so that you're not wearing yourself out. But he's clear to say that it's not control. So control would be, let me think of an example. So control might be where a mentor would say, you're not gonna be anything unless you get a house in this neighborhood, and try to force you to get a house outside of your price range in that neighborhood, right? That would be control. Influence might be, okay, it is economically smarter for you to purchase a home instead of, paying all this money for rent. Let's see what your credit score looks like. Let's, put you in some classes or stuff, something like that, but not actually saying this is where you need to live.
I'll take it a step further. Like if we use that example, it's like, I don't know who goes to the Potter's house, whoop whoop, but for the pre-shows for the month of January, they've been doing financial literacy conversations with the COO of the organization, and they are talking about things that you would say people with money talk about, but it's stuff that people who don't have money
can do right now. Yes,
to get the money, and they are like, open this, do this, have conversations about this, don't buy this. That's influential.
Yes.
None of them are saying if you do it, you're just going to be poor for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Because money conversations are all just being in the room and hearing it. It's all what works for you. And they're sharing their experiences about what works for them. Smart decisions that they may have learned from other people that it worked for. And it's just a conversation saying, hey, it would probably be in your best interest to do it. You don't have to.
Right.
But it's in your best interest because this is how it worked for me. That's right. Influence. I think control is the pyramid schemes. That's control. That's an alternative.
Yeah, right.
That's control, where it's like, no, give me this and I'll make sure that you get here. You can't get here if you don't do this for what I'm telling you to do. That's control.
Yeah.
That's
agreed. He also talked about knowing if you are the mentor in the situation, if the mentee is not gaining information from you. Maybe they just want to be seen with you or just hang out with you or whatever, but they're really not accepting the deposit that you're trying to get them. He says, this is 136. This is where advocating for yourself is especially necessary. You can certainly wait for that person to stop requesting things from you, but you can also ask that they don't request anything additional until they've actually carried out the previous instructions you've given them. Doing the latter will help you preserve your energy and not waste your time. Yeah, I thought that was good.
Absolutely.
I love this chapter about avocation.
I like it, but I can't read through it quickly. because I think it's a lot to take in about, well, how do I advocate for myself without being considered bougie or stuck up or selfish? Like, that doesn't work for me. Oh, so you too good? No, it just doesn't work. You know, so, and I think that's the biggest part of this chapter.
And then he's, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, and then he talks about that later. Like, once you get a plan, he says, like, plan something and then perform, and then you have to be ready for the aftermath. So that's that aftermath we're talking about. Oh, so you're too good. Oh, so you're bougie. Okay, so if that person is having that type of reaction to you, then it sounds like they don't even really know you or see your heart. Yeah.
For sure. I think the last piece of this, it says, what story was this? Oh, he told a story about him playing basketball.
Yeah, that was funny.
He wasn't really a great shooter. Like, he was horrible, and he
kind of need that for basketball.
Kind of need it. But he was saying how his coach could have come to him and said, yo, you're trash, we're benching you, like, it's people here looking, you making us all look bad. And he said that would have been the truth. But instead, what he did was he came to him and said, hey, you're really good at this, you're really good at this, we just got to improve this part so that you'll be a more well-rounded player, and then you'll help your team get here, here, and here. And so he was able to receive that without being crushed, his feelings crushed. He was able to receive it. And then it says he was able to advocate, the coach was able to advocate for himself. Like, I'm a good coach. Like, you're making me look like a bad coach because you can't. Advocate for himself without destroying the person he needed to kind of put in place or destroying the relationship, because he knew how to tell the truth and what part of the truth to tell. So remember, it's not about what we should avoid telling. We should avoid telling hard truth. I'm saying that all truth doesn't have to be hard. So I think that's basically what advocacy is. I could say, I can't be around Jamise because she always complains. I don't have to say to Jamise, I can't be around you because you always complain. What I can say is, yo, Jamise, I'm having a great day today. I really can't, I don't have the capacity to take on any negativity today. That in and of itself puts up the boundary, and we'll get to boundaries, but it puts up the boundary for me. That doesn't mean, though, that she won't continue doing what she does, which is complain. She may still complain, but I have verbalized my capacity to hear it. So she now has to find someone else to do it. That's advocating for yourself and not being selfish. It doesn't make me a bad friend. I just can't handle your negativity today. I'm just using Jamise as an example, so I really don't need y'all to come back and be like, oh, she said Jamise's negative, I ain't gonna be cool with her. I'm just using,
oh my God,
as an example. Okay, we have a question. Hi, Jillian. We are talking about Relational Intelligence by Dr. Darius Daniels. That's been the book of the month for January. Thank you, Jamise. It comes in paperback, hardback, audiobook, as well as digital. You can buy it in any form. We've been reading it in preparation for the month of February, where it will kind of be focused and centered on relationships. So that is Booked Up Book Club. We read to prepare. Okay. I think after advocacy, it jumps into conversation. So I think we kind of jumped into the conversation by me using the example of me and Jamise, and me actually coming to her and saying, hey, I can't do it like right now. Maybe it's a reason you can't take negativity because you have too much on your plate, and any outside negativity just does not work for you. Conversation. He says, once a person has embraced the fact that it's okay to engage in advocation, that's saying, yo, this is for me. I got to do this for me, and it doesn't make me selfish. Once you get to that point, you're ready for the next step, which is having a conversation.
Yes.
You won't be able to have a conversation unless you realize you're not selfish, because then your conversation will go around in circles and people's feelings about your conversation will weigh on your decision to stand by your decision.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I love the way he talks about the conversation, kind of like it's not you, it's me, or either it is you. And so he makes a distinction where if this is someone that you need to kind of realign to, like, okay, you have them in the friend category and maybe they should be an associate or one of the others. He says that's where you say, it's me. You advocate for yourself in that manner. At this time in my life, I am going to have to, like Jasmine said, I can't take on any more negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't have to say anything. Sometimes you need to just make the movement and they'll see and they might bring up the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so in that example she gave, I might be like, hey, Jazz, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? And then she could say, well, something that I noticed, and she can give feedback even,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I can't do any negativity right now, yada, yada, yada. On the other hand, if it's someone you're trying to bring closer, you're trying to make an associate a friend, or you're trying to make someone an advisor. He talks about saying it's you in the effect of I've watched you from afar,
Yeah.
and these are the qualities that I see, and I would really like to learn from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're trying to bring that person closer. So that's the language that you would use there.
Right. So, in other words, guys, when you want to push them away, make it about you.
Yeah.
Even if they are doing something, it's still you. You can't handle it. So, take responsibility, advocate for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't handle this.
Mm-hmm.
When you need somebody, build them up.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them why you need them.
Mm-hmm.
That's
good.
basically what he's saying. And he even said it's critical to know when to speak and what to say when you do. So don't just start talking just because you felt an unction to talk. Sometimes you have to just take a second, sit back, and be like, okay, is this person really my mentor? Or is this person really going to help me get to the next level? Like, don't just jump at it because you see they've helped other people. It might not be a good fit for you.
Might not be a good fit.
Process, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he gives some conversational prompts
Yeah.
in here that are really, really good. Now, are you going to remember to say this stuff in a moment? Probably not. However, if you gather the principle that he's like trying to get you to understand, you will be able to kind of formulate what to say, how to say it, when to say it. He says, remember, it's important not to make accusations, like Jimmy said.
Mm-hmm.
There is no you didn't do this and that's why I can't be friends with you statements.
Yeah.
In these conversations.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
He talks about language. And I liked this. I think I highlighted an entire page, which you're not supposed to do. But
it's yours.
It is my book, but I mean, I'm just saying. He said language is incredibly important. Communicating how we are going to relate to a person differently as opposed to requesting them to relate to us differently is paramount. So it's all about how you say things. We get in those fights where it's like, person, what they said is actually 100% accurate.
Mm-hmm.
How they said it that usually triggers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's usually what really sends us off. So, and then you went into the moving away and bringing close.
Mm-hmm.
He ends that with saying a large amount of frustration in many relationships boils down to misplaced expectations. The conversations are hard, expectations are clarified.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I love on page 150, Jasmine, where he says, what's needed most is courage and love. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, in those conversations where you might be moving away from someone or bringing someone in, that takes a level of vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
which is, courage, especially if you're like a really strong person and
Mm-hmm.
you don't like being vulnerable. It takes courage to say those things, and love.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I keep going back to work a
Mm-hmm.
lot today, and I remember just being in a situation where a coworker wanted some feedback, and I didn't want to tell the truth because I was worried about hurting their feelings. But
Mm-hmm.
then God convicted me. Well, actually, He showed me that if you don't tell them the truth, it's not going to help anybody. Like, it's not going to help this person move forward in life. And the feedback was that they were just unreliable
Mm-hmm.
in some ways. And, coworkers felt like they couldn't lean on them. So, you're paid to do a job. And when it comes to doing that job, if you're unreliable, then people aren't going to call you back.
Right.
Right. And so it didn't help that person for me not to tell them, hey, there's been some unreliability here. There's been some instability here. And so we're not able to move forward with you at this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that would take courage and love, because I didn't say you're bad, you're terrible.
Love.
But, if we could just get this stability to a level that it needs to be, then we'll call you back.
But
Yeah.
he even says, though, even if you have courage and even if you say it with love, you need to prepare for the aftermath.
Prepare for the
All
aftermath.
of the different outcomes of what your response could bring.
Yeah.
So, are they
Yeah.
receptive? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. How do you move past that? Are they angry? How do you move after that?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a combination? Do they just up and quit? What do you
Yeah.
say after that? Like, so making these decisions for yourself and not just work. I know Jameisa used the work example, but friendships,
Oh.
family relationships, whatever it is, don't go
Mm-hmm.
in thinking you can just have the conversation and they're going to be receptive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you have to also think about it the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Someone may be needing to have a conversation with you, and how would you react?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to go into conversations prepared for whatever will happen. And
Mm-hmm.
that's if a conversation happens.
Mm-hmm.
Just talking
Yeah.
about
Mm-hmm.
sometimes conversations won't happen at all.
Yeah.
I think that might be in the elimination phase, but
Yeah. And you're hitting it so good that it's going like right into the next thing. But I'm trying to look at the chapters because I want to make sure I don't get there too fast, because he talks about like how you,
some great stuff. Yes, he talks
okay.
about rejection. Um, that could be an aftermath, right? That's a
Yeah.
part of the aftermath, rejection.
Right.
And he says a soul wound is dangerous because the bleeding is internal and invisible.
Oh yeah.
These kinds of wounds are often underestimated and overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to take into account that someone may feel rejected, right, based off of your decision. But just a few pages prior,
Mm-hmm.
he says we cannot be imprisoned by a person's feelings.
Yeah.
So even if it's painful, even if they feel rejected, and that's why you need courage and love,
Mm-hmm.
they still may feel it, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't let what they feel imprison you and be like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what? Never mind.
Yeah.
It's just me. It's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah. And I think that's where prayer is so important, because in some respects, you're not even going to, I mean, like what you said earlier, Jasmine, we have these little prompts, but in the moment, you might not remember that. You might have even written something down, but when it actually comes time for the conversation, you might not know what to say. You might get flustered, but the Holy Spirit does. And I know we're not supposed to get churchy tonight, but you can ask God in that moment, just very quickly, Lord, word my mouth. Please give me what to say. Please allow me to hear what's being said and what's not being said in this conversation, and help me to lead in love. Help me to walk in courage during this conversation, so that it can turn out. Quentin cannot. Yeah, because we've been in this series about the Holy Spirit knows, he knows what you need to
He
say.
knows.
And if you yield to him, allow him to speak through you.
Absolutely. It says, I think the end of this part of conversations is putting off a realignment conversation we need to have with people in our lives only hurts more in the long run. Not just them, it hurts you. Because you start building up a resentment, almost like, oh, they frustrate me so much. Like, I don't even want to answer the phone. If you're like that with people, when your phone starts ringing and you just look at it like, okay, all right, what could they possibly be calling me about?
That's a bad spot.
Be in a mind frame to answer their call. That might be a realignment conversation that's necessary. Something to think about. I'm not just talking to y'all. I'm talking to myself too. Because I will look at my phone and be like, yeah, I don't have it. I can't right now.
You know what? I got to remember, because I was thinking about it in the car. And last time we talked about, you being an introvert and I'm like off the spectrum extrovert, right?
Yes.
And I am wondering how difficult it is for you to actually do this entire book.
You mean like have these conversations?
Have these conversations, do your advocation, realize people's limitations and elimination and all of that. I was like, man, that must be really hard.
So remember when we talked about the aspect of introvert versus extrovert? It's a scale, like a sliding scale.
Yeah.
So it's just where you prefer to live on that scale. Like we all live, well, everybody on here might not be from Dallas, but we live in Dallas. Let me be careful.
I was about to say, you need to get it. Hold on, get it.
I got it.
You got it. It take you that long to get it? Yes, it does.
Yeah, there are preferred areas.
Yeah,
where people prefer to live. And then there are areas where it's just like not as comfortable, but I'll do it if I have to.
Yeah, okay.
I can use me as an example.
Yeah.
I'm debating on moving to a city. I don't hate it. I just prefer not to live there.
Yeah.
But it has the space I need.
Yeah.
Versus living where I really want to live, but like it's kind of out of budget. So that is introvert versus extrovert, right? So if I need to have those conversations, I just have to slide myself over a little bit.
Okay.
Come out of my comfort of being at home, watching TV, reading a book, minding my business, and be like, okay, now I have no problem advocating for myself.
Okay.
That's not the tricky part. I think the tricky part is the conversation, because it's just like, well, if they don't hear from me, that must mean obviously I don't want to talk, but I have to kind of come out of my shell a little bit and do it. Fortunately for me, there aren't, because I advocate for myself and I compartmentalize quite a bit already, there aren't many conversations that need to be had.
Okay.
That's for me, fortunately. Some have fallen off, which we'll get to elimination, on their own, naturally, where a conversation had been had, but they didn't quite get it. So it was like, okay, now my boundaries are going to kind of have to show you a little better than, you were receptive to. And yeah, so it's just about me coming out of my shell.
All right. Okay. Well, I would say, just on my end, this book made me grow up a little bit, because I am like, spiritually, hey, I'm ready to go. But for you talking about like compartmentalizing, I don't do that at all. I'm so bad at it. I'm so bad. And let me not say that. I'm getting better, especially
You're growing.
Yes, thank you. I'm growing. because when I was reading this book, I was like, oh, that's why. Because I'm like, everybody's my friend, party time, everything is great, I love everybody. And I'm thinking that they feel the same way about me. And then, like, when you get stabbed a couple times by that goat, it's like, well, I thought we was friends. And then I'm reading this book like, Jamise, you have been doing this all wrong. Yeah.
So if y'all haven't read the book, I advise you get it. If you fall behind while we're reading, that is okay. Like, read at your own pace. That's why we didn't put out chapter outlines and read this by this and read. We weren't doing that. This is an open book club. You can jump on when you want to jump on, jump off when you want to jump off. I know people who have not read this book at all. They just jump on for the discussion and to see what we're talking about and kind of get their synopsis that way. And there are others who's like, oh, that one sounds interesting. I'm going to jump on in March or, whatever. So, read at your leisure. But I definitely suggest this is one of the books that's like going to help you through life. I read this book the first time maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So rereading it at the space I'm in life now, where I have lost one of my closest friends, I've lost my dad, and I've gained a fiance. I'm reading it with a different lens now.
Hey, fiance. Hey, fiance. Put that finger up real quick. Put your hand up.
I just want to say I did text him before this live, so he would not call me this time.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But yeah, I think definitely helpful.
I think this is a great book to start the year off with, because if you don't have the right people in your life, where are you going this year? How are you really getting there? You can't do it without relationships. You can't do anything without relationships. All right.
So we touched on conversation, right? And I threw the word boundaries out a lot, which kind of leads us into our next chapter. I get the summary of the next chapter is called Limitations. Boundaries are for you, not others.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of this chapter. I mean, I could just...
the very second line in the chapter pretty much sums it up. Everyone doesn't listen. Like, you've had your conversation, but everybody doesn't listen. Let me see. You were talking about boundaries. 159 says, boundaries are guidelines. They come in the form of rules and barriers. They are the limitations we set regarding what we will permit or allow in the context of a relationship. The purpose of boundaries is not necessarily to control what someone else does, but it is to limit and protect us from the impact their activity has on us. Boundaries are our way of determining what we will tolerate and what we will permit. And so it's not a form of manipulation either. Well, if you do this, then I like you more. It's just setting up that perimeter around yourself. And if that person aligns within those boundaries, then you can keep going. But if they don't, then the next chapter talks about elimination.
Right. So I think Limitations is probably my favorite chapter. I don't know why. I do know why. But it talks about, and this is the page before what you just read, Jamise. It talks about Jesus and the limitations that he set.
Yeah.
When there were several times in scripture where he was like, all right, I'm going to just go away. He retreated. He, needed to spend time. He had to set that boundary like, yo, I'm going over here. I don't need y'all over here. A lot for me right now. Let me just go over here and do this. And they had to respect that boundary. And when he came back to the crowd, he was with the crowd. But then when he needed to go up to the mountain, he was on the mountain.
Yeah.
And he says there are other examples where Jesus got away from crowds, instructed people to keep miracles private, or went to solitary places for times of replenishment. He set limits. He didn't wait for his followers to have an epiphany about what he needed. He practiced the art of setting boundaries. So you can't hit your way through people knowing what you need.
Yeah.
You
You
can't
have to actually say it.
to say it. People are not mind readers. I know we use that as I can't read your mind. I don't know what's wrong. We really don't. We may feel it, but until you say it, it may not be real for some people. It may be just having a bad day. I'll come back tomorrow. No, I don't want you to come back
Ever.
So you have to set those boundaries so that people can respect you past the boundary. So they don't feel like you manipulated them. We talked about that. They don't feel like, oh, she's trying to play me, or any of that. Be clear. I don't do this. I don't do that. That doesn't mean you can't. It says boundaries. What it says, boundaries show me where I end and someone else begins.
And you know, once you set those boundaries for yourself and you actually put them out there, then people will know and they'll govern themselves accordingly.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, people know I'm not, you know, going to the club and going to drink and all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to invite me.
Yeah, definitely not going to the club. It's not happening. I don't know if my reasoning is saved enough. Like, I'm not going yes because I have a relationship with the Lord Jesus. Okay. I think a lot of people in the club have a relationship with Jesus and still choose to go to the club. I choose not to go because I don't like large crowds. And it's wild because I work at a place that has very large crowds.
Yeah, very large.
Very, very large. But that's neither here nor there. He goes into, I have a lot highlighted in this chapter too, guys.
Okay. Yeah, you take it.
What boundaries will do is protect you from the impact of a person's dishonesty, compulsiveness, so on and so forth. You set boundaries to ensure you never tell them anything personal or intimate. The nature of that boundary doesn't change how they act, but it does reveal to you the nature of the relationship. This person, well, he's talking about the boundary you set between friends and associates, right? So how do you react to that? And coworkers. He touches on coworkers as well. The distinction is critical for your own emotional safety and peace of mind. So boundaries are not just to keep people away, it's to keep you sane.
That's good.
I think it goes into the resistance of boundaries. I don't know if you have anything highlighted in that area, but
I don't.
It says we are often resistant to the idea of setting boundaries, mostly because of our need for validation. That is page 161 for me, under managing the resistance.
Got it.
Setting boundaries means we won't always be liked by our friends, especially those we connect with primarily via cliques culture, and this can be problematic for many of us. So if you have to be liked, if you need to be praised, things like that, this is a very difficult chapter for you. Yeah, you won't set boundaries if you have to be liked because people don't like boundaries.
Yeah. I'm going to just let that sit right there.
Right? Selah. It does go on to say, though, our need to please people, to be liked, is very often a symptom of someone who has been dealt rejection or lived with an absence of affirmation.
Yes.
And one of the things that ends up happening is we don't set boundaries and end up with many misaligned relationships. So this stems back, and we are not here to counsel. We are not licensed therapists. We do have licensed therapists at the Potter's House of Dallas. You can always reach out, calling 1-800-BISHOP-2. And we have some licensed therapists that even come to the wheel.
Yeah.
However, I will say, sometimes if this is you, if that last paragraph describes you even just a little bit, it might be necessary to get to the root of it. Why are you a people pleaser? Did you affirmation somewhere? Is affirmation, is the percentage real low? Do you need to charge your battery a little bit? Like, what is it? It's something to consider. Definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
And then I think the last piece I have for that part, because then it goes into the fact that we can't set boundaries because of digital access. And that is...
Oh, yeah. Come on, go ahead.
Work.
You're the social media guru. Come on, talk to us here.
But before we get there, it says we have to work through the fear of losing relationships in our own minds so that fear isn't what drives our decision to resist realigning people.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being afraid of what will happen if we realign a relationship, we should probably take an approach that says, I'm going to shift my thinking to being afraid of what will happen if I don't realign this relationship.
Yeah, I love that. If I don't realign,
I don't do it. That's what
what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Right. So he does go into the role of digital access. So he's encouraging us to set boundaries, but it's difficult because we're all on social media. Y'all are on social media right now, listening to us talk, and the natural desire for us to have, I used to call it Twitter fingers. Now it's so much more than Twitter. There's everything out there. You just go put it out on social media. You are angry. Someone has made you mad. Facebook is usually the first group of people to know about it. That completely destroys a boundary because now you've allowed us to weigh in on whether your anger is valid, whether we're going to get with your anger. You mad at your sister. Now you got people talking about your sister online. You open that door. So I think even with sharing on social media, you have to be selective about what you say. There are ways to be transparent without inviting people to cross a line with your parents. For instance, I posted recently about my grief and how my inability to effectively communicate what I was trying to get across affected my fiance. And
that was a beautiful post.
What is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't understand why you don't get it. Like, what is wrong with you? It was a whole thing. But he said he's so patient about it that I couldn't do anything but sit back like, you know what?
This is why I love you.
It's definitely me. Yeah. But it was an aha moment that I didn't mind sharing. Transparent as it may be. People can take it how they're going to take it. Oh, they fighting about this. Or they fighting about that. That's fine. Y'all can weigh in on that. The reality is y'all still don't know what was said.
Right.
So y'all don't know what did I disrespect him? Y'all don't know. I didn't. Yeah. But like you don't know the context of everything. There was no video recorded. There was no screenshots publicized. Like
you just got one. You got one little box. One little
aha moment of a general situation. That was a boundary. And I think everybody should have that boundary, if no other boundaries. Like everybody don't need to know everything. Like just kind of people know what I want them to know. People know what I don't mind being repeated. People know, like you just have to set that boundary, even in the age of social media and digital access. It's very much possible. Sitting in category, yes. It says that digital access may present a false sense of community that can have people sitting in categories of our lives unjustifiably. Facebook has made us all call each other friends. And I think our first conversation, we said, friend,
call everybody friends.
Used too loosely.
Yeah, it is.
And then when we say, oh, no, we're not friends, I follow them, and that seems like, oh, I'm not following them unless they follow me. We're wild. We are wild people. We are wild people, man. But yeah, then we get to elimination.
Okay.
I know you highlighted here, Jimmy.
I did highlight here, but I love how he keeps going back to King David And I don't know if I realized like how much I love King David. And then he talks about Paul as well, Paul and Judas.
Mm-hmm.
So the first line here says repositioning is not always possible when aligning your relationships. So sometimes you're going to have to make a decision to move on. There are some cases where a relationship is so unproductive or unhealthy that the person needs to be eliminated from your relational orbit. In other words, yeah, like you got to get out of my whole life.
You can't even be around.
Oh, in other words, there are times when people can be repositioned, and there are times when people have to be removed. And so maybe let's unpack that for a second. What are some traits, that you find where someone has to be eliminated? I would say anything that is toxic, anything that is abusive, where there is like there's no coming back from it. That person feels good by making you feel bad all the time or inadequate, or you can never measure up, or in competition. We talked about that, I think, last time or the time before when we first came on. We talked about, how some relationships, they find to be competitive, and that's not natural. So those are the types of relationships where it has to be eliminated.
Yeah, for sure. I think I used to say, so one of my like traits is like, if you're a liar, just don't be around.
Oh God.
I can't stand a liar. Now, there are different kinds of liars though.
Now he talk about it. He talks about it. Yes.
He does talk about it. But there are liars who lie to damage others. There are liars who lie to I guess like pump themselves up, like, make themselves more than what they are. And then there are liars who just lie about stupid stuff.
Is that called flexing? That's
flexing. That's flexing,
right? I'm trying to pump myself up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's the liars that's just like, what was that for? Now, I feel like everybody got a friend that's that kind of liar, that third kind of liar. That's just like, here they go. Really? Like, you really don't believe nothing to come out their mouth, but you just love them anyway. It's just like, all right. I think those people can be realigned.
Mm-hmm.
They're not hurting anything. They just lying for no reason. Yeah, I won part of the lottery. That's not hurting nobody. It's just a stupid lie and unnecessary that nobody asked for.
Mm-hmm.
I think those lies that intentionally damage.
Mm-hmm. But those, I was just gonna say, like, but that type of liar is still not safe because you don't know. He talks about safety a lot in this book, and it's like, okay, if you're willing to lie about being part of the lottery, then what else are you willing to lie about concerning me and what I've shared with you, or something, something like that. So it still puts you in a place of being vulnerable by having this person in your relational orbit, as he calls
it. It does, but is that person necessary to eliminate or realign and possibly be someone that you need to advise?
That's good. Yeah.
Because maybe they don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't know that what they're doing is making people perceive them as dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just lied about a lottery ticket. Yeah, but would you lie about this too?
Right.
Old folks say, if you lie and steal, if you steal, they kill.
Yes.
So you go so far as to say that you lied about a lottery ticket, you could kill my mama. Like, no. So you have
escalated so quickly.
I mean,
yeah.
So I think those are people, and this is just my personal opinion, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's like those kind of people. It's like, okay, let me take you under my wing real quick. Like, that's just be quiet. Practice silence for a second. And I think there are those lies that are just like, yeah, no, I can't even, because they have made it, and maybe they started out over here and they didn't have an advisor. or mentor or whatever, and they've made it now to a place where it's like, yeah, you full on eliminated. Like I can't keep you over here, like you dangerous. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, we got on liars.
No. So we have criteria for elimination. This is page 169 for me. Elimination should not be made impulsively, arbitrarily, or emotionally. Now, we talked about that before where we had said, like, you know, sometimes it's just a season and the season is up and it's time to move on. And we're not making those, you know, just an emotional decision. The stakes are too high for us to manage situations like these without establishing some criteria to make these decisions. For me, the criterion for elimination is quite simple. It is when maintaining the relationship in any form or category is no longer in the best interest of the persons involved. When the relationship becomes counterproductive, emotionally toxic, spiritually regressive, or physically harmful and dangerous, a person has a responsibility to engage in elimination. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
It is. And I just said this book wasn't written in order because the paragraph above that section could go after or before, where he says elimination is also not a matter of convenience. It's a matter of law. In other words, it's not a step we take because we are simply agitated with someone. It's a step that we take because we believe it's a necessary step to move into the next chapter of God's story for my life.
Right. That is so good. This is a great book, guys. If you can't tell, this is a great book. It's a great page turner. Like it's almost like the pages turn themselves. Okay, and then he gives us a little bit of a formula. He says,
"Where you at?"
174.
Yeah, hold on. We got to back up real quick.
Okay. Is this where we talk about Judas and Peter?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Come on. That was a good part. Yeah, go ahead.
I think, wait, hold on. Let me see. This is right above. This looks like it's about Paul.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Paul and, wait a minute. No, Peter denied Jesus.
But right? Judas betrayed him.
Right. So this is like the risks of elimination.
Yeah, that was risks. Okay. But this was Paul engaging Jews in conversation where he was talking about, you know, what he told them and they chose not to listen to him.
Got it.
So he, you know, shook his clothes out, was like, hey, I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
It was my responsibility. And then he left. And he said the language in the NIV reveals that when the people became abusive, Paul knew it was time for elimination. He was like, I'm not about to let y'all beat me up. Y'all don't have to listen to me. I'll take my gospel somewhere else. Right? It was clear that his love for the Jews he was trying to reach did not cancel out God's love for him. And he said, because of this, Paul knew that God was not requesting, requiring, or expecting him to subject himself to abuse for people he loved. Because Paul understood the kind of love that God had for him. So it says, please know that abuse isn't always physical. A person can be in the context of a church where the abuse can be of a spiritual nature. And you touched on that a little bit, where spiritual authority is confused with control. In my estimation, a spiritual covering is the equivalent of being an umbrella that provides wisdom and guidance that keeps a person from being exposed to unnecessary elements of life. However, if this relationship becomes abusive, it mutates into becoming a lid, something that limits, restricts, controls, and diminishes. In instances like this, elimination is almost always necessary. So I felt like it was necessary to come back to this because we're talking about from a strong mindset. I'm going to eliminate you. I'm going to eliminate you. But for those who may feel controlled, diminished, limited, restricted by anybody, you also have the option and the opportunity to eliminate that advisor. You might not be their assignment anymore if it gets to that point.
Yeah.
You have to do everything else that we've already talked about to get to the point to say, even though you're the, I hate to use this word, subordinate, it's okay to say, I don't have to take this. Like, maybe I am still learning some stuff, and maybe I need another advisor, but I don't have to take this. This is not a part of, this is not, you're hurting me now, and it's toxic.
Yeah, this isn't a healthy, productive relationship. And don't take anything away from what you've learned, right? So up until that point, you know, you might have learned some amazing things and, you know, had amazing experiences. Don't take anything away from that, but just be focused that, you know, it's time to move on. And doing it in grace and love and with courage and love.
Yeah. And that's what Paul had to do. He went back to preach to the Jews because he knew Jesus loved the Jews. Those were his people. Jesus was Jewish. And he went back and said, yo, like, he's gone now. He's our savior. He's the redeemer. He's this. And they were like, well, if you don't take this somewhere else, nope, we still believe what we believe. And he said, okay, now y'all ain't gonna beat me up. Now I'm just here. He had to, okay, that's fine.
I did what I needed to do, and now I'm moving on. Yeah.
So that's I just wanted to touch on that. But yes, the risk. Are you saying the risk of elimination or you said the steps?
I think the risk. Okay, well, yeah, we got to go to the risk of elimination.
Because that was Peter and Judas.
Yeah, the steps come after that. So, you know, we've been talking about not making emotional decisions just because somebody made you mad or irritated. And he gives the example of Peter and Judas, right? So we know that we talked about this heavily the last time where, you know, Jesus told Peter, look, before the cock crows, you're going to lie and deny me 3 times. And he did that, but he was in a very tense, high pressure situation. He was going to die if he said that he knew Jesus, whereas Judas betrayed Jesus. He premeditated a whole plan to have Jesus
and got something out of it.
He got some money. Yeah. He prospered at the expense of Jesus's life. And so it talks about the risks of elimination. So not just running out here and cutting somebody off who's potentially Peter. And he talks about how Peter was growing, right? He made one bad decision one day. But Judas, if you're careful and if you're watching over the life of when they all got together and started ministering, Judas was doing stuff when the woman with the alabaster box came, right? We're gonna be churchy for a second. When she came and she broke that alabaster box before the Lord, his response, Judas in particular, his response was, I don't know why she did that because that's a year's worth of savings. But the scripture says that he didn't care about her money. He cared about the money that she would put in the pot because he stole. So Judas liked to steal money. He liked money. He made money his God. Yeah.
He said one of these men had a bad heart. The other had a bad day and a very human fear of being killed.
Yes.
That's so real. Yes. That's so real. And I know it's some really, really churchy people on here that may equate Peter and Judas to be the same.
Are not.
But please internalize this and ask yourself, if a gun was held to your head and they said, do you know this woman right here? Just ask, would you say yes? Would you say
no? No, I don't know her. I don't know her.
Listen, I'm getting married. I have no idea who that is. Like, I gotta I'll come back and apologize later.
And you know what? If you're really friends, no. If you know what? I'm just gonna put this out here. If you had a gun to your head and they asked you if you knew me, please say no.
Say no.
Because like you said, you're trying to get married. You ain't dying for me.
Say no. I concur with that. If any of my
Yeah.
friends are on watching,
Yeah.
if your life is in danger
No.
and you can live by saying you don't know me, you don't know me. I'm okay.
I ain't mad. The last time when we did it at first, I was like, oh no, I went, but no, it was a life or death situation. You got a whole family, you got a whole life to live. I get it. But like you said, that was one day. Judas had been stealing and putting the disciples and Jesus in a bad position the
3 years.
whole time. Yeah, 3 years. And you know what the thing about it is? Jesus let him do it. He knew everything.
He knew it was happening.
Ooh.
And he still let him be around. That's why he was considered an associate. Y'all gotta read the book. Y'all gotta read this book.
Can I tell you that just put some things into perspective for me? Just this very moment. My God. Okay. So that's the risk of elimination. You don't want to make an emotional decision when you're dealing with a Peter and you think he's Judas.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other hand, you don't want to just accept someone who is Judas thinking that they're Peter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to line it up.
So how do you get through that? He gives us 3 steps.
Okay, he gives, yes, pray, plan, and perform, right? So, you know, prayer's right up my alley, right? Mm-hmm. So he talks about how prayer sobers us. Mm-hmm. It gets our emotions in check. He's talked a lot about emotions in this book, and he talks about how, you know, emotions are God's way of showing us, hey, something's not right, or, you know, something's going on here. But at the end of the day, we don't want to lead our life through emotions. So this is where we go in prayer. Lord, what am I thinking? What am I feeling here? What is it that you're trying to say to me here? So get sober and pray. Then once you have, you know, the leading of the Lord, then you need to put a plan together. Okay, here's my plan. My associate needs to become my friend, or my friend needs to become an associate, or I see this person and they need to become an advisor, right? You put your plan together and then you perform it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, the performance is the execution phase. You actually got to do it. Mm-hmm. You actually got to do it.
Yeah.
I think the self-exam, and this is the last piece of this chapter, self-elimination and external elimination. I'm going to just read the whole paragraph because to summarize it, I'm robbing those who will not pick this book up. So I'm going to read it to you. He says, I use self-elimination to refer to the choice a person makes to eliminate themselves from a relationship without an elimination discussion. There are times when a relationship is not working out because of our inability to fulfill the role we've been assigned in that person's life. As a result, we eliminate ourselves from the relationship before the person comes to share why they are eliminating us. If you've ever done this, or this has ever happened to you, a person has simply disappeared from your life, then you know that this can sometimes be an answer to prayer. Mm-hmm. The person valued us enough to make the elimination decision for us. Now, it may not be an answer to a prayer that you were actually praying. It may be an answer to a prayer because it says God prays for us, right? So it may have been his response to his own prayer. Like, you know what, let me just go ahead and do this because if I leave it to them, they ain't going to do it at all. So let me go ahead and jump in there. And I can, again, use myself as an example. There wasn't a self-elimination that happened to me. And I looked up like, whoa, wait, where'd they go? I'm still trying to figure out what the prayer was the Lord prayed for me, but I've been content. Like, I haven't been like, oh my God, like, why? It's just, okay, let's see what happens. Like, okay. So, like you said, it could be an answer to a prayer. It may not have been my prayer. It was somebody's prayer. Mm-hmm. But then he talks about external elimination. That happens. Seasons and circumstances beyond our control contribute to the elimination of a relationship. Maybe a friend moves to another part of the country, the communication dwindles. Sometimes a single person gets married, and that affects the dynamics of the person's relationship with other single people. Whatever form elimination takes in our lives, it is incredibly important to enter that decision with humility and the willingness to demonstrate the grace that God has freely extended to us. So that means don't go being nasty about it. Elimination. If you've been eliminated, the eliminator require being nasty and pompous about it. Just go on about your business, do what you need to do, and live in the peace that you needed as a result of this elimination.
I feel like the old folks have a saying, like, if someone walks out of your life, let them. Isn't that an old folks?
If someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, I know that one, but I feel like there's also one that says if someone walks out of your life, let them. Let them. If they self-eliminate or externally eliminate, then okay, you might want to say your piece, like, oh man, I'm really gonna miss you, but okay. Yeah.
Tis what it is. The last part of this book is really a lot of self-reflection. I think the whole book is self-reflection, but part 4 is assessing your relationships, and it really just takes a moment for you to sit back. And I created, the first time I read this, I wrote a list of all my friends, and I was like, let's go through it. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
He starts this section with saying, the Bible tells us a man who has friends must himself be friendly. As much as we need to assess the people in our lives, we also need to assess ourselves to ensure that we are being the person we desire to attract. Now we have to think inwardly and not about everyone else. How are you adding value to your relationships? Are you who they need? And if not, it goes back to the part where we talked about, being audacious enough to believe that you the one and only, and it's not the case, right? So he said there are 3 types of friends that we can be. We can be a friend that we like to be, the friend that others want us to be, or the friend God needs us to be. And those don't always line up.
I love that. I love that line.
Right? Then he says the ability to make honest and accurate assessments of our own engagements and relationship is an important life skill. Right? So all the assessments in this book that we've been making have been outward. We've kind of thrown in there, like, consider yourself too. But these last 3 chapters really do that. It says we assess others to determine what kind of friends we actually want. And that's okay. However, living with a relational intelligence isn't just about assessing other relationships. It's also about assessing ourselves. Are you who the person you are looking for is looking for? I think that's like that. Would you marry you? Would you date you? That's the same concept. So I'll use myself. I said it in a previous chat we had. I am extremely, like, when I do talk, I am hard. Like, get to the point. Like, we're not gonna beat around the bush. And I have a friend who doesn't really handle hard well. Or she didn't. I think she's been around me long enough now. It's like, you know what? All right. But there's still a level of care and concern that I will exude because I know, like, okay, that hard thing don't work for her. So I can still be straightforward, but I need to figure out how to still feel like
gentle.
She doesn't feel like I hate her after
Right.
So I had to look inwardly, like, okay, I wouldn't necessarily want anybody talking to me like this. Like, yeah, I could probably handle it. So when I'm in a fragile state, how would I want to be talked to? And I had to adjust how I, communicate with them.
Yeah.
What part was he on?
The friend that you want to be, the friend that.
Yeah, that I was looking for a particular part where he kind of like touched on, like, it was a specific part, but we can get into the 3 types of friends, right? The friends we like to be. we typically exude what we want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like 5 love languages. This is the second time I done brought that up. Maybe I need to add that to the list.
Add it to the list.
We are the type of friend that we want to people, and that's not necessarily what they need.
And that's not necessarily what God wants you to be to them.
Right. So sometimes the friend others want us to be is not the friend. Well, yeah, you just said that. So we give what comes easily or naturally to us.
Mm-hmm.
If we love support, we'll give support.
Mm-hmm.
If we love affirmation, we'll give affirmation. But just because we're giving to a friend, just because we're being kind, the kind of friend we want, does not mean we're actually meeting the greatest area of need in the lives of our friends.
You know what I love? How he goes on to talk about how I think this is where he goes on to talk about David and Joab, right?
Yep.
Like
Mm-hmm.
how, you know, your friend needs you to be supportive, but they don't need you to be supportive to the fact that to the point that you're willing to allow them to ruin their life. Like being supportive means that you have to stand up and say at some point, you know, hey man, I don't think this is the best route for you, because in our previous conversations, we talk about how friends help you to achieve your calling.
Mm-hmm.
They help you walk in your calling. So if you notice that a friend is about to do something that's going to take them outside of purpose and calling, then you have to, as a friend, be responsible and love them enough to tell them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not they're going to accept it is another thing, but you know that you've done what you should do as a friend to address it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Don't know the story of David and Joab. I feel like y'all should, but
Yeah.
Joab was the person that King David used to kill Uriah.
Mm-hmm.
Sheba's husband, because he was like, "Oh, she flirt with me, I'm gonna flirt with her, but she married. We got to get rid of him." And he used somebody else to do it. That was his friend, though. That was his rider. He was like, "Yo, can you kill him for me?" And instead of Joab being like, "Nah, bro, I don't think that's a good idea.
It's not a good look." Yeah.
Look, he said, "Sure, I'll do it."
Yeah. But then also, I just want to like throw this out there. David was the king.
David was the king.
So that's a little different too. Like, yeah, Joab was your friend, but David could also kill Joab too. You know what I mean? It's not.
But that goes back to what we just said. You, as the subordinate, have to be willing to say, this leadership, this advisor is just not what I need. Like, this isn't working. Because now you're making me do things that could have the government kill me, because I shouldn't be killing people. But who knows that it actually came from the king? He told me to do it.
Right. And then I also wonder if David would have really listened to him, because it seemed like the only person that could reach him was the prophet at the end of the day. You know, when the prophet came and told him, look, you are a hot mess, then he was like, then he, you know, saw the error of his ways.
Mm-hmm.
He repented and he moved on. But if Joab would have said that, I wonder.
Receptive.
Yeah. But we don't know, because Joab didn't step up as a friend and say, look, you are dead wrong.
Yeah, right. He said, yeah, let's put Uriah on the front line. We know that, take him out.
Like, yeah.
Anyway, then it goes into the God, or the friend God needs us to be.
Okay.
It goes right into it. Our friends do not need us to be someone who aids and assists them in destroying their lives. They do not need someone who remains silent when speaking the truth is necessary. Too often there's an expectation that because we're friends, I'm supposed to be silent. That inevitably ends in disaster. And then he says Adam and Eve. Oh my God. The most misconstrued Bible story
my God.
in the world. Y'all.
And
the way, okay. Please read this book. If you don't read the Bible. It says that Adam was with Eve, right? When the serpent came to her. He was there. That means he was standing right there
Right.
when the serpent said, "Hey, eat this fruit." I'm not gonna call it an apple because it probably was not an apple. I really hate when y'all do that. It was a piece of fruit.
Okay.
We don't know what kind of tree it was. Adam was standing right there. Now, who got the instruction from God?
Adam. Listen.
Came to Eve, said, "Eat this."
Yeah.
She said, "All right." Ate it.
No, she said, I can't eat this because he said I'm gonna die, right?
I'm gonna die. You ain't gonna die.
You ain't gonna surely die.
You ain't gonna surely.
Look, this is what I have struggled with since I was a child. Since I was a child learning this Bible story, my question was always, why didn't they call God? Why didn't they call him?
Why didn't they? But he in there. He in there somewhere.
He's there. Said he would walk around in the cool of the day. Why didn't you just say, God, this snake said that I can eat this fruit?
Which means that thought process has been reverberated to today. We go through and try to fix it ourselves and make decisions ourselves. Why don't we just stop and call God? I went to a service last night in Houston. Pastor Keon Henderson's church, his church had a conference, Cry Out Conference. Pastor Mike Todd preached last night, and he preached about the kingdom.
Yeah.
He said, we don't seek the kingdom. And the scripture, I mean, we seek money, we seek friendships, we seek relationships, we seek marriage, we seek everything.
Yeah.
The Bible clearly says, seek ye first the
kingdom of God,
and then
all is righteousness.
Everything else you've been seeking.
Now you the one said we couldn't get churchy.
I know, but
I got all these bumps coming up my arm.
The Adam and Eve piece, right? Woo. They weren't seeking the kingdom. They got dropped in. They was like, all right.
They're in the kingdom.
They're literally in the kingdom.
They're in the kingdom.
But they didn't see the kingdom. They were distracted and blinded by a lot of, again, what we're distracted and blinded by today. Greed.
The lust of the flesh. The pride of life. And is it the lust of the eyes? The pride of, oh man,
now I gotta look it up. Hold on.
It's only three things. Somebody put it in the chat. I know you know. Elder Hardy, if you're still here. I think it's the lust of the flesh.
The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life.
Pride of life. Okay. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. All they had to do was ask. And you know, the other day, Jasmine, in the prayer challenge, I said, you know, God wants to do impossible things for us. Mm-hmm. Abraham and Sarah, God went to Abraham and said, hey, you know, I'm going to bless you to be a father of many nations. And he's laughing, talking about I'm 100, Sarah's 90. But God knows everything. He has all power and he's everywhere.
All they had to do was ask.
Yeah.
And it says, he says, too often when the story is told in a way that suggests Eve was by herself and Adam was somewhere else playing with animals. I thought that was hilarious. Because that is what we think. He was just out there doing whatever.
Yeah.
But the text says that Adam was with her. Adam was present when Eve ate, but he was also silent. Mm-hmm. He wasn't that friend that said, yo, Eve, I literally just told you. God said we couldn't do this. And you just said it here.
I got to say this. Ladies, provide an environment where your husband can speak to you. Don't be the type of woman where if you getting ready to eat that fruit and he say, babe, I don't know. No. Provide an environment for your husband to be your friend, because he's a friend first. Provide an environment for him to be able to speak with you. And vice versa, but I just wanted to talk to the ladies real quick. Okay.
He says, what if Adam would have spoken up?
What if he would have spoken up?
What if he would have said, yo, he getting to you, bro? Like, nah, get us back. We good. and actually heeded the word of the Lord? What if?
What
Well,
if?
of course, we'll never know. But it says, instead of choosing to not be silent when it mattered most, he assisted someone in doing what was not best for them. He encouraged them, even in his silence, even if he didn't say, go ahead. His silence was enough. It says, don't be Adam.
Don't be Adam.
That's wild to me, right? So the friend God needs you to be is the friend your friend actually needs. And what do they need? They need truth. They need a person who considers their wants but is committed to their need. A person who has an accurate understanding of what godly love is, which is not a feeling. When we can say, I love you so much, I'm willing to lose the relationship. If it means I take a stand for what I know is best for you, that's when we know we're being the right kind of friend.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So we're on the last chapter. We have come a long way. Oh my gosh. We've come a long way. I love the last chapter. And it was very short, but I just loved the talk about the relationship between Ruth, Naomi, and Orpah. A model for healthy relationship building. That's chapter 14. And it talks about Ruth's relationship. And I highlighted this one part, Jasmine, on page 193, because I thought it was important how, okay, so you all, if you know the story of Naomi, Ruth, Orpah, Naomi, all the men in her family died. Husband died, her sons died. So that just left the mother-in-law, really, and the two daughter-in-laws. And so they had to go to another land to be profitable. And so Naomi tells Ruth and Orpah, y'all just go ahead and go. Ain't nothing left in the can for me. I'm not getting married again. Even if I do get married and have kids, y'all can't marry them. You're going to wait 20 years to marry them? No, go ahead and go your own way. Right. And it talks about how Orpah went ahead and made the decision to go her own way. But in messages, a lot of times she gets a bad rap. You know, it's always like, some people can't go to the next level. You know, you got to let people go, but it says Orpah took Naomi up on her offer and went back to her homeland. And despite what you might have been taught sometimes in sermons, this wasn't necessarily an inappropriate decision. It was simply her decision, her path. Leaving wasn't disloyal because Naomi had made it clear that leaving was in their best interest.
Yep.
Orpah chose that route and understood that she alone was responsible for executing the decision that was in her best interest. God gave us the gift of choice, and our choices are going to be a reflection of what we do with that gift. I thought that was great. I thought that was great. And it was okay. There was nothing therefore, and God will bless you in the way that you take.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Ruth stuck around though. And she was like, hey, I'm gonna stay here. Wherever you go, I go. And there ended up being a great blessing, of course, when she met Boaz. But I love how he talks about, if you want to get Boaz, you got to be Ruth. And if you want to get Ruth, you got to be Boaz. Like you have to do the work. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
He explained, what did he say? Ruth wanted a secure, successful, sensitive, God-fearing man. Secure, successful, sensitive, God-fearing. Okay? Y'all can take notes on that part.
Do it again for the people in the back.
Secure, successful, sensitive, God-fearing. Sensitive. Boaz wanted a loving, kind, generous, strong, resilient, non-explosive, non-deceptive
woman. That's a lot of characteristics, isn't it? Why do we have to have so many? Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 characteristics?
Because women are, dare I say, more complex.
Yes, we are complicated. We are
We're more
complicated.
complex. And that goes to what Jamesh just said. The truth is often overlooked in order to get secure, successful, sensitive, and God-fearing. You have to be loving, kind, generous, strong, resilient, non-explosive, and non-deceptive.
So if you are all that in the garden, then if you're all that in your proverbial garden, wherever you at, then the man can speak to you. Ooh.
That's
yeah, that's a word. That's a word. That's a word.
It says most of us don't always think about whether we've become the kind of person we need to be in order to pull the relationships we need in our life.
Yeah.
And we've had several people across these lives. What have we done? 3 or 4? We've had several people across these lives to say, like, you know, I don't have friends. I don't have this. I don't have that. And of course, you know, if you want friends, you got to show yourself friendly. Okay. But not just showing yourself friendly. Who do you need to be to draw what you're saying you want?
Yeah.
Like, are you the kind of person that deserves all that you're asking for? I'll use a funny colloquialism. You know, they say women, I want a real man, I want this, I want that. But then they say, but women ain't nothing on y'all real. Y'all wear fake hair, fake lashes. Now listen, I'm gonna wear my lashes. I'm gonna get my lashes done, and I'm gonna put that hair in my head.
Do you hear me? What I say? But my heart is real.
My heart is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you hear me?
The analogy there. What we ask for, we don't always exhibit.
I'm gonna do one more because I've been in a situation where I've heard a woman say, "I want my Barack," and I said, "Well, are you Michelle? Are you Michelle? You talking about how you leave dirty clothes on the floor? You think Michelle doing that? But
when they go low, do you go high?
But hold on. Barack had a car with a hole in it when he was picking up Michelle in the beginning. You doing that? All right, I'm gonna just allow on that. Everybody is not. Our generation wants everything right now. You know, everybody is not coming to the table with $500,000. And if you don't have it, don't expect him to have it. All right, I'm done.
We've said Selah so much tonight.
If you can't help him get it, then stop making him have it. You don't have no business acumen to get 500,000. Don't be mad because he got 100. All right.
The audacious nature of these generations, I tell you, we are an audacious bunch. We
are.
But yeah, that is essentially relational intelligence, people.
I just want to clap it up.
We made it through the whole book. We're not leaving chapter 15 off. Chapter 15 is how's it going? It's an assessment for you. It's a personal assessment. Your friends, and it's an assessment of yourself. Some of the questions: am I known for my unconditional love? Answer it truthfully. How honest am I with my friends? What level of reliability have I shown in my friendships? These are real personal assessments for you to use. And there's a whole relational intelligence assessment tool in chapter 15 that really, I feel like, will set you up for success to just kind of examine yourself so that you can then examine others. I don't think that you should start examining others before you look at yourself, because you may then be someone to say, okay, I haven't been that friend to this person. Let me go apologize. Maybe I've been parasitic and they weren't in a position to be the host, and I've been mad at them for not being the host when I never. I've
had to do that.
Please I'm showing y'all my iPad. I hope show your book, Jamise.
Okay.
Relational Intelligence by Dr. Darius Daniels. It is
Thank
amazing.
you for writing this book,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Daniels. Yeah,
Thank
this is
you. It
amazing.
is amazing. A
And
life
Jasmine,
changer.
thank you for picking it.
If you, of course. And if when you're open to really, really changing you as a person and your relationships, everything around you, I promise it'll open you up to some great communication.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really
Agree.
great. I'm so excited. We made it through. Woo! Okay, so this was the last conversation on relational intelligence starting in the month of February, every Wednesday and on Sunday the 5th coming up, right? So next Sunday is our first Will Sunday for 2023. We decided to use January as a month of preparation to make sure that everything was in place. Of course, everything for the year is still kind of unfolding, but we have a great template and a framework to work with. And so on February the 5th at 5 p.m., we will be having our first Will service. We'll also be serving in the lobby, so y'all will see us in the lobby on Sunday morning, handing out cards, out there dancing with some music. Come out there and dance with us, be crazy before service and after service. We'll be out there. And starting on February 1st, we'll start our new book. Now, these lives will adjust a little bit, okay? We'll go live twice a month moving forward, okay? Each month, I'll have a different one of my friends on. Not to say you won't see Jamise again. You probably will. But next month's book is How's Your Soul? It's such an amazing transition from relational intelligence to How's Your Soul, because it really is going to deal with you. Okay, relational intelligence was a lot of external stuff until you got to the end. How's Your Soul is really going to make you look at yourself. And then, so if you want to read that first and then come back to relational intelligence, that's totally fine. That's why it's an open reading plan.
And I think it's really good, Jasmine, because it lines up with what, Bishop was talking about with prayer partners. If you can get your spirit and your body to line up, then your soul will be all right.
If y'all haven't watched Prayer Partners, please go to youtube.com/TD Jakes official. Okay? Prayer Partners 1 and 2. They're really indescribable. Like, you kind of had to be there, but you can always go back and watch it. It is a great setup and a great middle piece from this book to How's Your Soul. It'll be really great.
And I'm gonna go old school. If you have the app on your phone, you can see the entire service.
You can see it from beginning to end. Absolutely. Absolutely. And How's Your Soul was written by Pastor Judah Smith. I'm sorry I didn't give you the author. We'll send another email out for those that are part of the book club. If you did not sign up for the book club, head over to our Instagram page. The link is there. So that way you can get all the information there. We're not going to inundate social media with the book information because everybody's not going to be a part of the book club, but you do need to sign up so that you can get the information. Okay. I think that's all I have. Join us every Wednesday at 6 a.m. for prayer and fasting, 6 to 6 every Wednesday. I think coming up is the book, the service, and then thereafter, I think the second Monday of the month is going to be our first Jesus in Therapy conversation with Pastor.
Oh, that's going to be great.
And Jay Barnett.
That's going to be great.
Professional counselor, professional therapist. So I'm really, really excited about Jesus in Therapy, okay? And it'll be right here on Facebook, YouTube, and prayerfully Instagram. We're not going to leave y'all out. We got to make sure the internet don't like Instagram for whatever. I
don't know what happened with Instagram tonight. The devil is a liar.
But you can follow along to all of our other events on our calendar. Again, visit our Instagram page. It has all of our links to what's going on, how you can stay connected and things like that. If you have any questions, I will drop our email address in the chat, and you can shoot us any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Other than that, Jamise, am I missing anything?
Our giving campaign. So we have a giving campaign. Yeah, you can text Will to 28950. and put in the amount that you would like to give. We are trying to give $1 a day. So at the end of the year, you should have given 365 dollar bills.
Right?
Yeah,
$1 a
right.
day, $7 for the week,
Mhm.
$30 or $28 to $30 for the month.
Mhm.
However you choose to do it. We only meet once a month in person, which is the first Sunday of every month at 5 p.m. So however you choose to sow, you can sow. If you don't want to do $1 a day, you could do $7 a week. We're
Yeah.
making it real easy, but it's not just to ask you to give. It is to
Mhm.
ask you to help support the ministry so that we can keep doing stuff like
Yeah.
this. These
Yeah.
platforms to stream to multiple places are not free.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
costs. I sound like Pastor Joe. Lord, it costs to do what we're
It's
doing,
true. Yeah,
to do
it's true.
that we're planning. And we have such an amazing announcement for y'all on the 5th about something happening in March that y'all, I don't know if it's really been done. Like, and we're not gonna blow it out the water like thousands and thousands of people, but it's something that's super, super dope that I think y'all will enjoy, and it
Yeah.
takes funds to do it. So we're
Yeah.
asking if you've ever been blessed by one of our conversations, any of the conversations we posted last year, any of the
Mhm.
words and messages that you've heard over
Yeah.
the wheel. We're asking that you just sow into it and just be a
Yeah.
blessing to the ministry and the
Yeah.
upbuilding of the kingdom.
Hello. Hello. I have enjoyed these conversations with you,
Me
Jasmine.
too.
I
Oh,
really
I
have.
can't wait for the next book. We're gonna have to
I
jump on.
okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited. We're gonna have our volunteer coordinator next month for
Oh,
my so
Raina.
that is Miss Raina Brooks. Okay. She's gonna be on with me for the 2 sessions we'll have next month on live.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So that gives y'all some time. It's not as much pressure to read up every week. You can you got some time. We'll go live on the 10th and I think the 24th. Those are Fridays. I believe those
Okay.
are 2 days we said, but we'll make sure that information is in the email. So sign up for the book club so you got the information. Okay.
Mhm.
I
Sounds
think
good.
that's it. Look at Raina.
I
She came back out the woodwork. So yeah, I'll be here. We love y'all. Have a good night.
see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.